Sunscreen sounds like a straightforward product category, but if you're planning to market one in North America, the regulatory landscape is more complex than most brands expect. Canada and the United States treat sunscreen very differently at the regulatory level, and the decisions that you make early around ingredients, classifications, and labeling will shape whether your product can actually reach the market. So today, let's break down what those differences actually look like and what you need to know before you launch. Here's where companies tend to run into trouble. They assume that because sunscreen is a consumer product you can buy anywhere, that the regulatory requirements must be relatively simple. And then they discover that Health Canada and the FDA each have their own classification systems, their own approved ingredient lists, and their own labeling rules. A formulation that works well in the European market may not be compliant in Canada or the United States. And with the FDA's ingredient framework currently in a period of significant change, companies that haven't reviewed their formulations recently may be working from outdated assumptions. I'm Andrew Parshad, founder of Quality Smart Solutions. Since 2007, we've worked with cosmetic and health product companies navigating both Health Canada and FDA requirements, and sunscreen is a category that comes up quite frequently, especially for brands entering North America, especially from those coming from around the world. Let me walk you through how each country regulates sunscreen and what the key differences are for your product. In Canada, sunscreen is not automatically one type of product. Its classification depends on the ingredients it contains. Products using naturally derived active ingredients like titanium dioxide, zinc oxide, or para-aminobenzoic acid are generally classified as natural health products. That means they require a natural product number, or NPN, from Health Canada before they can be sold. Products that include synthetic UV filters such as avobenzone, oxybenzone, or octinoxate are classified as non-prescription drugs and require a drug identification number, or DIN. That distinction matters because the application process, documentation requirements, and timelines differ between the two pathways. Getting the classification right from the start avoids having to restart the process partway through. Regardless of classification, all sunscreen products sold in Canada must be labeled in both English and French. Those are the two official languages in Canada. Labels must display the sun protection factor value, and all products must include a statement indicating the product helps prevent sunburn. Companies can also make a broad spectrum SPF claim, provided testing confirms a critical wavelength of 370 nanometers or higher. What you cannot do is claim the product blocks all UV rays, or prevents cancer, or provides protection beyond UVA and UVB. Health Canada is specific about this, and claims that go beyond what the Monograph permits will trigger a compliance issue. In the United States, sunscreens are regulated as over-the-counter drugs under what the FDA calls OTC Monograph M020. This is not a pre-market approval process in the traditional sense. Instead, if your product formulation meets the conditions set out in the monograph, including approved ingredients, concentrations, labeling, and testing requirements, it can go to market without an individual new drug application. Now, if your formulation falls outside the monograph, you do need an NDA, a new drug application, and must submit comprehensive data package to the FDA. You also need an NDC labeler code, which the FDA assigns. That's a step that some international brands miss entirely, and that's a huge oversight. This is the area of U.S. sunscreen regulation that has changed the most significantly in recent years, and it directly affects formulation decisions. The FDA's current framework, updated under the CARES Act in 2020 and reinforced by a proposed order issued in 2021, now recognizes only 2 sunscreen active ingredients as fully GRASE, or meaning generally regarded as safe and effective. Those are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, both up to 25%. 12 other ingredients that have been used in U.S. sunscreen for years include avobenzone, oxybenzone, octanoxate, octisalate, and others are currently not GRASE under this framework. That does not mean they are banned. Products containing these ingredients can still be sold, but the FDA has determined that additional safety data is needed before these ingredients can be granted full GRASE status. That data gap has significant implications for companies formulating for the U.S. market or conducting compliance reviews. There is also a meaningful development on the horizon. In December of 2025, the FDA issued a proposed administrative order to add bemotrizinol, a broad spectrum UV filter widely used in Europe and Asia for decades, to the Monograph for the first time. If finalized, it would be the first new sunscreen active ingredient approved for US since 1999. A final order should come sometime in late 2026. It's worth watching for any company involved in sunscreen formulation or innovation. US sunscreen labels must include a drug facts panel, the SPF value, a broad spectrum designation if the product meets the testing threshold, and water-resistant claims if applicable. Structure function claims such as stating the product helps prevent early skin aging when used with other sun protection measures are permitted in certain contexts. Disease claims are not allowed. So, to put it all together, in Canada, sunscreen classification depends on your active ingredients, which determines whether you pursue an NPN or a DIN. Bilingual labeling is mandatory, and claims are tightly defined by the applicable monograph. In the United States, sunscreen is an OTC drug regulated under monograph M020. Only zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are currently confirmed as GRASE. 12 other commonly used ingredients require additional safety data, and a new ingredient, bemotrizinol, hopefully I said it right, is moving through the proposed order process. If your formulation relies on any of these 12 ingredients, that's something your regulatory strategy should account for. Now, these are not just compliance checkboxes. They affect which formulations you can bring to market, in what form, and on what timeline. If you're developing a sunscreen product for the Canadian or US market, or if you're reviewing an existing formulation against the current regulatory framework, this is exactly the kind of work that we do here at Quality Smart Solutions. We can help you determine the right classification and pathway. We can review your formulation and labeling and make sure that your product is positioned for market entry, not rework. Visit us at qualitysmartsolutions.com or use the link in the description to get in touch with our team. Thanks for watching.